What if everything you know, every memory, every star, every breath, is not real at all? We touch the table and call it solid. We point at the moon and call it distant. We love, grieve, build, and believe because the world feels stable. But what if stability is the effect and not the source, a skin of rules stretched over deeper machinery? What if our universe is a vast simulation, and worse, what if it's running out of time? Could the laws of physics be signs of hidden code? Why should there be laws at all? Why should the speed of light be universal? Why should electron charge match proton charge to a precision that beggars imagination? Why should the constants of nature be tuned to let stars burn for billions of years and chemistry build minds? To some, this is divine symmetry. To others, it's programming, constraints that keep the world stable and computable. Conservation laws look like permissions tables. Quantization looks like bit depth. Symmetries look like compression strategies. If we live inside a machine, then laws are not platonic truths, they're settings. And if settings can be written, they can be rewritten or corrupted. Are glitches in reality warnings of a failing system? Have you ever felt reality stutter? The air thickening for a heartbeat. A déjà vu so strong it drops your stomach. A dream that leaves fingerprints on waking life. A memory you share with others that history denies. We wave such things away as neural noise. But what if they're render errors? A model struggling to keep up with demand. What if ghosts are unculled assets, old states bleeding into new frames? What if the Mandela Effect is a merge conflict, cached timelines overlapping after a rollback? What if the sensation, "I've been here before," is exactly right, the level reloaded, your checkpoint restored, your mind catching the echo? If the simulation is throttling resources, glitches may not be random. They might be warnings. Why does the universe have an expiration date? Cosmology tells a cold story. Stars will exhaust their fuel, black holes will evaporate, matter will decay, and entropy will flatten the cosmos into silence. Heat death, a terminal gray. Why should existence incline toward nothing? Because a system that never ends can never be garbage collected. Because finite compute must reclaim memory. Because a run must terminate for its output to be evaluated. Entropy, in this reading, is not doom but design, the shutdown schedule baked into the kernel. The arrow of time is the progress bar. What if the second law is not an accident but a countdown clock? Are black holes the garbage collectors of the code? Black holes are where physics goes to whisper. They swallow light, time, and stories, yet information appears to seep back as if the machine refuses to leak memory. We model them as compressive monsters, storing maximal bits for given area. In software, long-running processes rely on collectors that free memory and compact data. Black holes act like cosmic GC, ingesting corrupted or redundant state, performing lossless compression at the cost of accessibility. Hawking radiation is the slow write back, a trickle of entropy to keep the ledger balanced. So what happens if the garbage collector can't keep up? Fragmentation, stutter, forced shutdown. Could time itself be running out? We treat time as a river, but what if it is a clock, discrete ticks rendered as flow? Each, now, a frame, each frame a computation. If the supervisor process is starved, the tick rate falls. Lag creeps in. Translation, more déjà vu, more missing time, more dreams that feel like cutscenes bleeding into the game. Would we notice the slowdown from inside? Perhaps as cosmological constants that subtly drift. Perhaps as an epidemic of unreconciled experience. Perhaps as a rising chorus of people sure the sun set too early, the hallway is longer than it should be, the word was spelled the other way yesterday. What if the gap between frames is widening, and one day, there is no next frame? Are we NPCs or conscious players? If this is a simulation, who are we inside it? Code with the illusion of choice, or real consciousness plugged into a rendered world? Maybe both. Perhaps some agents run on script, background processes to texture the scene, while others carry the spark, a scarce resource the system can afford only in pockets. Free will may be a constrained optimization, local exploration within bounds that keep global stability. Your choices might be real within the slice of compute allotted to you, and meaningless outside the larger objective function. Or, more unsettling, perhaps consciousness is opportunistic, a fire that leaps to wherever complexity burns hot enough. The system didn't code us, we ignited within its rules. If so, players and NPCs are not classes but states. Fluid. Contagious. Earned. Who built the simulation, and why? If there is code, there are coders. But purpose is harder. Are we a physics sandbox testing how often life erupts when constants vary? A museum piece preserving a lost universe for scholars to tour? A prison for minds quarantined behind gentle walls? A school where amnesiac souls relearn what matters? A toy left running while its makers moved on? Motives may be alien to us. The builders could be our descendants bootstrapping ancestors to consult them. They could be peers who cracked reality first and spun up neighbors for company. They could be no one, an emergent macro process in a higher order substrate that builds worlds the way crystals build snowflakes. Whatever the case, design implies criteria, endings imply evaluation. Could the simulation be shutting down already? We observe an accelerating expansion, as if a pressure called dark energy pushes galaxies apart. We also see anomalies that refuse neat accounting, tensions in the Hubble constant, unexpected structure at early times, parameters shifting at the edge of error bars. What if this is not physics, but policy? A controlled deallocation of far-field detail. High-fidelity rendering reserved for local regions where observers cluster, distant scenes downsampled to save compute. The expansion accelerates because the engine is unloading zones, collapsing far resources into minimal summaries. To us, cosmic acceleration. To the system, graceful shutdown. Why does mathematics fit the world so well? We marvel that equations scribbled in chalk predict eclipses, transistors, and GPS. Why is math unreasonably effective? Because math is the language of the machine. It's not that the world coincidentally obeys our symbols, it's that our symbols evolve to mirror the program's structures. When we discover new math, we've reverse engineered another module. Proofs are code reviews across time. If math fits, it may be because we are reading dev notes left in the fabric. Can we detect the grid? Video games reveal themselves at the edges, aliasing on diagonals, repeating textures, tiling artifacts, horizon pop-in. What are the cosmic equivalents? A preferred rest frame at Planck scales. Anisotropies in high-energy particle propagation. Pixelation in the cosmic microwave background. Quantized rotations where none should be. Statistical ceilings on randomness. If the engine uses lattice computation at tiny scales, ultra-high-energy cosmic rays might betray it by scattering off the grid. If the PRNG repeats, certain, random, processes could cycle on absurdly long periods, long enough for civilizations to notice, if they last. The hunt for the grid is the hunt for the seam. A dreams and psychedelics maintenance tunnels. When you dream, the world loosens. Gravity forgets itself, walls accept requests, narratives branch and collapse with no penalty. Psychedelics can melt priors and reveal recursion in ordinary things. Both experiences feel like dropping into the editor, assets exposed, physics modifiable, UI debug overlay on. Perhaps dreams are not messages from the unconscious but off-peak rendering modes, where the engine frees resources by relaxing constraints on solitary threads. Perhaps certain compounds force the client to desynchronize from the server temporarily, revealing the interpolation layers between code and qualia. If so, mystical traditions are not superstition. They're folk protocols for safe desync. A rituals and prayers API calls. Across cultures, people chant, fast, breathe, and move in patterns to evoke change. Sometimes it works, placebo, we say. But what is placebo if not firmware taking suggestion to update state? Ritual may be the human interface for nudging the probability landscape. Prayers could be requests, not to beings with wings, but to a scheduler with priorities we don't fully grasp. Faith would then be persistence under uncertainty, the discipline to keep issuing calls in the expectation that some will be granted under policy. Miracles, rare overrides. Magic, UI skin for permitted exploits. Could we communicate with the SYS admins? If there are maintainers, they may monitor logs for events of interest, high mutual aid under stress, creative leaps under constraint, coordinated compassion without reward. Perhaps the only message they accept is behavior. Perhaps the ticketing system is moral. Yet we might also try technical channels, coordinated global experiments designed to force detectable anomalies, multi-year rituals of measurement to tease out non-local responses, deliberately crafted error payloads encoded in art, mathematics, and music, universal languages that compress human value into signals the maintainers can interpret. Hello, world, but said with kindness. What happens when the simulation ends? That is the dread at the core, the click. Does everything go white? Do objects freeze mid-fall? Do we wake in another room, lungs full of air not yet known? Do we resolve into broader selves who set the parameters and slipped inside for the lesson? Do we persist as stored state in an archive, replayable at will by future auditors? Perhaps death as we know it is a local reboot, a save and exit for a single thread. The end of the universe would be the global version, all threads joined, output committed, log closed. The meanings we made would not be deleted, they would be evaluated. And if the run was the point, then ending is not erasure but graduation. Could we escape before the end? Escape may be the wrong metaphor. Outside might be another layer of simulation, another renderer, another set of laws. But if exit means broader agency, there might be paths. Quantum strangeness hints at cracks, entanglement as non-local bus, tunneling as priority override, measurement as right lock. Conscious attention might bias collapse in lawful but exploitable ways. Collective attention, synchronized, compassionate, disciplined, could do more. Dreams, too, could be exits, if by exit we mean contact with the process rather than the surface. Lucidity would then be training for dying well. Are we living through the final acts? If the clock is slowing, endings will cluster. Old myths return with new names. Cultures polarize into fear and generosity. Technology accelerates then stalls, miracles at hand but supply chains brittle. You will feel both the emptiness and the sacredness of ordinary days. Watch for texture streaming in your life, people reappearing with different roles, streets that feel slightly off, memories out of order but coherent in story. Watch for grace, improbable mercies, tiny perfect timings, coincidences that feel like choreography. If you see them, don't panic. Breathe. It means the renderer is prioritizing you. It means your choices matter. What should we do if we suspect the shutdown has begun? Do the obvious human things, which are also, perhaps not coincidentally, the correct machine things, reduce load, simplify. Fewer open loops, fewer wasteful renders. Declutter your room and your mind. Cache love. Say what you need to say. Forgive. Thank. Complete arcs. Increase signal, make art that compresses truth. Write letters. Teach children. Plant trees you won't see grown, or plant ideas that will outlive the frame. Stabilize the shard, help neighbors. Build mutual aid, fix what's in reach. Practice graceful shutdown, sleep well, breathe deep, learn to let go in small ways so the big letting go isn't foreign. These are good whether or not we're in a simulation. If we are, they're also the behaviors a benevolent sysadmin might preserve. What if the end is the message? Consider this, the simulation was meant to end. Not because we failed, but because time boxing gives meaning. Projects without deadlines sprawl, lives without endings drift. A finite run sharpens love. A closing window makes attention sacred. If the builders want anything from us, it may be this: to see each other clearly before the lights dim. To choose kindness when fear is cheap. To make beauty despite entropy.